At the T-minus 3-minute mark, tape recorders on board the spacecraft were turned on. These recorders record both voice and data. We have ignition sequence start. The engine's now building up to 7.7 million pounds of thrust. We have a launch commit and we have a liftoff. Moving back. The Saturn V lifting off with power.
Hello, and we're back on Rocket Shop with O'hAnleigh. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
So, can you start by telling us a little bit about each of yourselves and introduce your music? And first off, could you pronounce your band title?
If you just say O'hAnleigh, that's close enough.
Okay.
It's Irish.
So what would it be if I was trying to do it in Irish?
There's more of a ha to it.
O'hAnleigh.
In the back of the throat.
O'hAnleigh.
O'hAnleigh.
Well, I'll stick with O'hAnleigh then.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
So, just introduce yourselves and give us a little spiel about what you think your music is.
We play Irish folk music, a lot of original music. We write our own stuff about the Irish-American experience, about legends in Ireland and things like that. A lot of fun stuff. We've been playing as a band since 2002, and it started as kind of a lark with my daughter and I. Just got up and did a few songs at a St. Patrick's Day thing once, and it took off from there. And then Cindy joined us, and that was a lot of fun. She's been with us since 2003. And we were rolling down the highway one day, and we saw this guy hitchhiking, and it was Matty, and he had instruments and stuff with him. So I asked him if he knew how to play this stuff, and it turns out he plays this stuff really, really well. And so Matty joined us, and about a year ago. So it's been fun having Matty aboard with us.
Not bad for a guy under a bridge on the highway.
He always wants to jump out of the car when we pass under an underpass, though. I don't.
Well, great. Why don't you start us off with a tune?
Sure.
We're going to start a song that we had written a few years ago to play at Renaissance fairs. Song in the hills hails unto ye, a lark in the morn, a sweet melody. Come hither, come yon, arise with the sun. Come from the fields, the fair has begun. And come to the fair. Sing and dance, there's joy in the air. Come to the fair. Your maidens and the laddies are all welcome here. The mist in the morn, let's dew on the leaves. Hands from the field, put down golden sheaves. Flowers of yellow and violets and red bedeck their way as their fragrance is shed. And come to the fair. Sing and dance, there's joy in the air. Come to the fair. Your maidens and the laddies are all welcome here. There's weavers, there's artisans, and men from the guild, pipers and harpers and luters so skilled. Gently they weave as they ply their trade, so come fill your wickers with the treasures they've made. Now the dashing young archer, his arrow flies true. The artist gives pigments a warm, pleasant hue. The smithy at the forge, well, he's the master of all. The cooper with staves is a work in his stall. And come to the fair. Sing and dance, there's joy in the air. Come to the fair. Your maidens and the laddies are all welcome here. Peasants and tradesmen, merchants and king, come taste the fruits of nature's wellspring. And when at the close has twilight shone, farewell with graces for the long journey home. And come to the
Fair by O'hAnleigh. So you guys have been playing together since 2002, 2003.
Since before Sam Akis was born.
I was Sam's age when we started playing, and I'm not Sam's age anymore.
I'm gonna tell you this. You guys have been playing since before I was born, so this is you guys have got it going. So, how you've been together for 16, 17 years. How has your band evolved? How I know you have a member as of the bridge, and how has your music changed from these years?
Tom has gotten a lot older. We've noticed. That's one big change. He's not duck walking on the stage quite as much anymore.
No, those are my old rock and roll days. Ducking across the stage and doing acrobatics. I don't do those anymore, but the music has become somewhat more sophisticated in one way and fun in another way. We write much of our own music, and as we've gone along, we've wrote many of our own songs. Recorded 4 CDs now, 5 CDs. We've played all over the place, and we try to hit a nerve among Irish Americans, really anybody. Some of the music is just about life. Doesn't matter where you're from. But generally that's how it goes, and it's got a little more complicated than it used to be. We all play different instruments, so on stage we could be playing anything. Maddie even plays, God help us, the banjo. But we just bring a real variety to our shows.
And how has your music writing process been? I mean, you've been together since 2002, 2003. How do you guys write these songs?
So, Tom writes some songs, and when Tom writes songs, he does it in a very organized and methodical fashion. And then I write probably, I don't know, at least 50 or 60% of the lyrics and originally start the songs. And normally what happens is, in my work, I'm taking long road trips across Vermont, and it's beautiful driving across Vermont, and the mind just starts writing songs, and what I do is pick up my cell phone, call Tom's cell phone and say, don't pick up, I'm gonna sing this song into your answering machine. And so I leave him little 30-second snippets of the song and say, here, put chords to this, and then he takes it from there.
And my first reaction is, you've got to be kidding me. Will you make a song out of this? And then we sit down and we hash it out a little bit, and sometimes our hashing gets a little more intense than other times.
Does that happen?
And we argue a lot and we bicker a lot, but usually a nice little song comes out of it. And then sometimes I'll bring a song in and we'll play it, and it just kind of, the song evolves as we play it. I use the artistry of the different members of the band to put their own inflection on the song, and it usually comes out pretty good that way.
Mm-hmm. So you said you've written 4 or 5 CDs, albums, and saying you wrote one a very long time ago versus one that came out recently in September and 2 that came out in July. You guys have been manufacturing these just out and out. So how have your albums changed through time? Because 5 albums, that's quite the load.
The last 3 are more thematic.
Mm-hmm.
They were put together for certain things. One was for more of the steampunk stuff that we do, and it's got a lot of old-time music in it, old-time Irish American music from the 1880s, 1890s, and in addition to stuff that we wrote that fits into that kind of theme. One of them is more inclined for Renaissance Fair type shows or type music.
The Come to the Fair CD is almost all original music, and it was more aimed towards both the Renaissance fairs that we play, and then also just any of the summer fairs and farmers markets, that kind of upbeat.
Yeah, and I bring in some of the songs on our CDs are based on my family experience in Ireland, immigration and things. So we include some of those on there too. So the rest of the band has to put up with that family history stuff.
And then the 5th CD is actually an EP called Fairy Tales.
Right.
And it has 2 new original songs on it. The iconographic Mouse in a Boat, and the other iconographic Bean song. And then the other songs that we put on it, we pulled off of our other albums, and they're Myths and Legends songs. And that album was donated to the Vermont Fairy Tale Festival, which is a program of the Vermont State Libraries. We had so much fun playing there last year, and had donated the album to them, and as helping them with their fundraising. It was a lot of fun.
So you guys, there's 4 of you up here, and there's some age differences, I may speculate, how does kind of the band dynamic go about along that? Like, do you have a lot of different interests that you're pulling together? Do you all kind of have the same kind of musical intentions?
Well, for me, they just had me sit in a corner and shut up, and then they do the rest of the stuff. But I think, I came from a folk music background anyway, and doing rock stuff. I was a bass player in a rock band back in the 70s and 80s, and it just kind of ended up with this, just doing cultural stuff. And Becca's my daughter, so she's stuck with whatever I do. And Maddie's been, he's with Young Traditions, as Sam was doing, and he came back with a traditional Irish music background and tune background. And Cindy's got classical stuff and all kinds of junk in her bag.
Yeah, so I grew up in a school district with a very intensive classical music program, was in band and orchestra and chorus, but then also really liked classic rock and some early, John Lugpani, electric violin stuff, some jazz violin stuff. So I think we try to keep up with these young people and their musical talents,
You
but
blend it
they,
very well.
yeah.
So the answer to your question is we have no idea why any of this works. I don't know. It just,
Well, it works. We love it.
So, like, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. With you guys, like, what brought each of you to playing music? Like, what was, like, your calling to come to this,
my mother had a beautiful singing voice, and she was singing all the time when we grew up, and she sang to us these old Irish songs all the time, as was my father. My father actually sang in a band back in the late 40s. My mother was also an accomplished piano player, so I grew up in this house with constant music all the time. And that's how it worked for me. It's just family background in music, and my goofy father when I was 5 years old, used to make me step dance on the fireplace mantel when he'd have company over, and he'd sing these songs, and it was horrible. It was an awful experience, but I got over it. And Becca, of course, growing up, she had to listen to me singing songs all the time, so she sings a lot too. So
Yeah, I was basically singing before I could talk, and I remember him teaching me harmonies, listening to the Statler Brothers when I was like 4 or 5, and not really knowing what harmony meant, but
Now, Becca, you're attached to this Irish situation now, so how did you ever Irish step dance? Did you ever do it? He was talking about stepping on the fire mantle, the fireplace, so.
no, my older sisters were step dancers, but I went to school in Ireland when I was a teenager, and I lived with my cousins who are still over there, so it's been a huge influence on my life since I was really young.
Right, and what brought each of you to coming to play Irish music? I know you have your Irish background and you lived there, but for you two, I'm intrigued.
I guess when I first started playing, I wasn't really doing the whole Irish thing. I was doing the French Canadian music, and then I saw that there was an Irish session at what was the Lincoln Inn, and I started playing there, and then it kind of led me on this whole run of traditional bands. I was in Trinity, I was in Lawnford Row for a long period. Then I ended up going into Celtic punk rock for a little bit with a band called the Cop Outs, and then I've known these guys for years. And then luckily enough, they were looking for an extra, and I was like, hey, I'm free, I'm available, let's do this.
Oh, your blow-and-hour picked you up under the bridge story. Yeah.
It was going to happen sooner or later.
And I started with music when I was 4. I started playing piano when I was 4. I for a while wanted to be a concert pianist. As I said, I played in school in jazz band and chorus and orchestra. Started with the violin when I was about 10, I guess. And then with the violin, just got really into fiddle, liked to play old time music and bluegrass. And then in college, I had some friends, a friend from Northern Ireland and some of my other college classmates that had an Irish band called Rapparee, and then I used to, sit in with them or at parties and would play, and I got very interested in it. I also was very involved in Irish Northern Aid and some of the Northern Ireland political situations. Actually, my friend from college that was in this Irish band, his family was caught up in some of the Northern Ireland troubles. And so I was involved in some of the other cultural issues starting in college that were going on, and that brought me into the Irish music. And then it just so happened that when I moved to Vermont, then Tom and I both had some connections with working in our town in Middlebury, and met that way, and They were playing music, and I just sat in with them, and here we are.
You
Never
all,
left.
you all
got
seem
stuck.
to have a great connection to the Irish scene, which is really, it comes through in your music because you guys play it with such passion, and like you have a story behind it. And you know, for you, I think it's more of a connection to it. And I think you guys have like a little family here, and it's quite cute.
Have you guys ever been to Ireland as a band? I know you guys were in the UK at some point. I was looking on your Facebook performing. Did you perform as a band in Ireland at all?
No, we didn't. I've just done kitchen stuff in Ireland.
Yeah.
Just sit in the kitchen with relatives and play music.
I did a solo thing in Ireland when I was over there, which was kind of cool.
So we
Yes.
haven't toured in Ireland yet, but yeah, we did just do a tour in the English Midlands that was
It was fun.
just a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
When she was in Ireland, she was only 16, and I called up, as father does, checking on his daughter, and I talked to my cousin Paul. I said, Paul, is Becca there? And he said, well, no, where's she? Yes, she's at the pub with Mari. Oh, she's at the pub.
They had a great Irish session. It had nothing to do with me being old enough to drink Guinness.
Right? So we would love it if you guys would play us another song.
Let's do Bridget's.
Okay. So we're actually, this Saturday, February 1st is St. Bridget's Day, or Imbolc, and we're actually doing an Imbolc concert down in Sharon at the Seven Stars. But this is a song on one of our albums that we wrote from about St. Bridget, who was a real saint in Ireland in the 5th century, and this is actually a translation of a prayer that she wrote. So it's actually the earliest extant piece of writing by a female author in Western culture. And then we wrote the music, translated the poem, wrote a chorus and a jig to go with it, and here it is.
I wish I had a lake of beer and the King of Kings of Heaven were here, drinking outside my window right now through all eternity. I wish I had a lake of beer and the King of Kings of Heaven were here, out in my garden full of great cheer through all eternity. I shall serve all such beautiful meats of endless belief and pure piety, flagons of penance and plates of great peace, platters of joy for this heavenly feast, pass around vessels burning with charity, that's of mercy for our company, flagons of penance and plates of great peace, platters of joy for this heavenly feast. Live in Christ, and Christ may live in you. Taste and see how lovely, how pleasant is the Lord. Live in Christ, and Christ may live in you. Taste and see how lovely, how pleasant is the Lord. I wish I had a lake of beer and the King of Kings of Heaven were here, drinking outside my window right now through all eternity. I wish I had a lake of beer and the King of Kings of Heaven were here, out in my garden full of great cheer through all eternity.
Yep.
I'd like Jesus to be there among them and the 3 Marys of gracious renown. I should like all the people of heaven dancing and enjoying my small cottage ground. Heaven of heaven, I gladly would be, paying my rent to the heavenly free. Even in times of dire distress, my wheelhouse will be heavenly blessed. Live in Christ, and Christ may live in you. Taste and see how lovely, how pleasant is the Lord. Live in Christ, and Christ may live in you. Taste and see how lovely, how pleasant is the Lord.
And that was Bridget.
That was the Feast of St. Bridget of Kildare, yes.
Great. So that was a lot different of a vibe than your first piece. So between each of your songs, how do you come up with how you want the song to come out? I know you have your voice, your call up and with the lyrics. So how do you go about turning this into a full piece?
Well, when Cindy writes the lyrics down, she already has a concept of how the song will go, so it's a matter of just getting the count right, getting the signature right down on the song, and then coming up with the music. And we just come up with all kinds of wacky stuff. I don't know, we're schizophrenic or
Yeah,
something.
so when I write the song, I have this concept, and then these guys start playing it, and then my concept gets totally blown out the window.
And Cindy and I argue a lot and bicker, and then we finally come out with a song. But all our songs sound different. There isn't two songs in a row that sound like, you know, if you listen to one of these 70 rock bands, you can't tell the first song on the album from the last because the same singer, the same patterns, everything are the same. We don't do that. Everything is different. Maddie sings, Becca sings solo, Cindy sings solo. They mix their voices. Maddie and I mix voices. So we try to make it so they're interesting. So you can listen to a whole album of songs, and it's like having different bands on it. Different instruments, different mixes of instruments and things.
You guys really blend your voices really well together, and I'm guessing that comes with a lot of practice. So how often do you guys practice? How often do you see each other?
Not as much as we should.
Never.
Years ago, especially Cindy and I, we used to practice several days a week. We would really drill down when we were first starting and really got our act together. And then Becca went off to college, and so we didn't have her around for a while, so she didn't practice that much. But we used to practice really, really a lot, and it's made it easier later on because we all know how our voices are going to blend. We know how the harmonies are going to go. We know how it can mix. So it's really, we do a lot of self-practice. Or Cindy and I, we live next door to each other, so we'll get together at lunchtime or whatever and work on stuff. But to having a whole band practice sometimes is a little dicey.
Yeah, we all
to
have day
everybody.
jobs, but we also are playing 60, 70, 80 gigs a year.
Right, yeah.
So when you've got a couple of, a couple of gigs, it's really, the practice is just really developing the new music. And we wind up sort of practicing in teams, like,
Yeah.
Tom and Matt will get together, me and Tom will get together, Becca and Tom will get together, me and Matt will get
Technology has really helped us out because we can, like Maddie will email us a song that he's been working on, and he'll be like, all right, we're gonna work on this next practice. So we can all work on it individually, and then we get to practice, and then we can get mad at each other. And then be like,
So
But
what?
ge-
Oh, no,
Generally,
go ahead.
Cindy and I will do the foundation for the music, and then we bring it back to everybody else to turn it around or add things to it.
So far, anyway, we're waiting. These guys are gonna pop a bunch of new songs on us soon, I can tell.
yeah.
So if you're doing 70, 80 gigs a year, you must have a few that pop out to you. What has been, like in the last year, seeing as you're doing a lot of gigs, so I won't make you do it, what has been one of the top gigs for you, a favorite play experience?
Well,
England.
the ones in the UK were just
definitely
absolutely
the best.
phenomenal. We
Yeah.
had big crowds everywhere we went. It was great.
And
playing
the
on big
music scene
stages.
in general was amazing.
And very accepting.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, what was the, how did that work for you guys? Was it a lot of pubs? Was it a lot of, like, how do you guys
Some
go
stage,
about that?
some stage performances, some kind of garden type performances, pub performances. It was a really mixture of different things, but it was kind of neat. Their music scene there is much different than it is here.
Right
Maybe
now.
because it's a more urban area, I don't know, but it's quite a bit different, and people really get into the music. And when you're playing, they just show up in droves.
The folk music scene there now is much more like it was here in the late 60s, early 70s, where the folk music scene is clubs and bars and festivals, but it's it's people of all ages. So here, when we're playing out at a late night venue, it's mostly like college age students, and there
Everyone.
it's everyone, and it's mostly more people our age that are just absolutely packed in these places to see folk bands. And the folk genre, much like folk here in the 60s and 70s, runs the gamut to stuff that's much more indie rock and really wide diversity of styles. A lot of it's really theatrical, much more like the steampunk type stuff, and so it's really vibrant. It was very exciting.
Our audience, when we were in England, especially at the festival that we played at, they were all like old school punk rockers, which was awesome. Like,
Wow.
people in cut off
Yep.
denim vests
Right,
and
yeah.
tattoos all over. It was pretty cool.
So how have you guys, like, how did you, like, meet and say, this is us, like, this is what I want us to be? Like, I know, the daughter, son, and the neighbor, so what made you guys say this is going to be a band? This is going to be our group.
Kind of just happened that way.
We played at theme things at first, and that's how it developed, playing for like St. Patrick's stuff. And the Irish folk at the time, there was kind of an Irish revival with river dance and some of the other things. And so it was pretty popular, so we got to play in all these different places. I think the fun place that we play now is the Salt Hill Pubs in New Hampshire. It's a chain of Irish pubs owned by the same family. And they're usually a gas when we play there. They're just crowded, and it's a lot of fun, and people come from all over the place to see us because we've been down there for years. And so that's a lot of fun. So we kind of stick with the genre. We venture to the edges sometimes with some of the steampunk stuff, and you know, we dress up in these wacky costumes, and the Renaissance fairs and things like that. So we kind of broaden it out a little bit.
We've also been involved over the years with the Burlington Irish Heritage Festival, which is a week of cultural events happening that leads up to St. Patrick's Day and their big Cayley. We hadn't performed for them for a while, and this year it's their, what anniversary is it? Anyway, it's a big anniversary year for the
30th
for the Burlington Irish Heritage Festival, and we're giving a concert at Flynn Space as part of that festival on March 7th. So we're very excited about that. We were part of a show with a number of bands for the Burlington Irish Heritage Festival at Flynn Space some years ago, and that was really nice. Just a great venue.
Awesome. So for like Irish culture in Vermont, have you guys had a lot of like different spaces? I don't really know much. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not Irish, so I don't know what kind of cultural stuff they have. But are there like a lot of like Irish clubs that you guys can go to and like a lot of people show up, or is it more like you're going to bars like there's like Re-Raw and stuff like that in Burlington? Like
Yeah, what's your scene here in VT?
Vermont actually has a pretty big Irish community. I don't know if you wrote a song about it, or if it was a song, but we, like, dating back to the Civil War,
Wow.
there's been a huge Irish population.
Yep, and all the Irish immigrants that came in through Grocio from the north, and so there was a pretty big Irish community. So there's not a lot anymore of like the huge Irish bars. Obviously, we play at like Re-Ra's, and there's not so much the Irish cultural clubs anymore. But we then also often play at either like weddings or retirement parties where the family wants those old Irish songs that grandma likes.
Right. And so, like what has been in each of your perspective, what has been, your top moment for Vermont's Irish scene?
What would be the top moment?
Gosh, I don't know.
Or tops, don't
We did.
don't feel like you have
It
to
was
do
fun
one.
playing. Again, the Burlington Irish Heritage Festival gave a little mini Cayley reception for the Irish ambassador last year in the Fletcher Library, and a number of people. We played a couple of songs, and some other traditional musicians played, and there were some dancers, and that was just nice to be a part of that community.
There's an Irish music series that we play at. That's always really fun. It's at that church is it Westford?
Westford.
Or-
Yeah.
The Westford White Church Music Series.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. There's just been so many. We've been traveling around and playing a lot of these things.
It's hard to
And-
remember. And then we play a number of farmers markets. We play quite a number of fairs, like some of the summer county fairs. We just did Lamoille, right,
Lamoille
last
last
year, and Chittenden. I'm sorry, the
Champlain
Expo,
Valley Fair.
Champlain Valley Fair. We
Valley
played the
Fair.
last couple of years. That's fun.
Well, if there are any platforms we can find your music, we'd love to hear those out.
Sure, you can find us. Our website is O'hAnleigh.com, and I'll spell that too. That's
Yes.
O'hAnleigh. It's O'hAnleigh.com. And our CDs are also on sale. We have them for sale in hard copy at the Vermont Bookshop in Middlebury, and also on CD Baby online, which is such a wonderful platform for independent musicians. So again, you can look us up at CD Baby, O'hAnleigh, O'hAnleigh. But our website also has our schedule and tickets to upcoming concerts and so on the
And
front.
on that plug, do you have any concerts that we could catch you at in the next few weeks or months?
Yeah,
Yes.
again, we're coming up on our busy season. So again, this Saturday, February 1st, is St. Bridget's Day, or Imbolc, and we're giving an Imbolc performance at the Seven Stars performance venue in Sharon. And then we will be at Flynn Space on March 7th. We will-
Fairfax.
Fairfax, February.
Between
February 8th.
Yeah.
Fairfax and
The
February
Fairfax
Fairfax Library, their midwinter concert series is actually a morning concert, 10 to noon at the Fairfax Library on Saturday morning. So if you don't normally get out to, nighttime bar concerts or have kids or something, that would be a great place to come. And then on March 14th, as we're rolling into our St. Patrick's season, we'll be at Noddy's, which is downstairs from Two Brothers, in a performance space downstairs at Two Brothers in Middlebury.
Great. Well, we would love you to play us out.
All right. This is kind of a Cornwall song that we wrote. Our legacy is farming, and relatives in Ireland are all farmers, and they immigrated here. And anyway, from Madison County, so we do songs about cows and things. Laddie, take the cow down, laddie, don't delay. Laddie, take the cow down for its market day. Laddie, don't be late now, laddie, don't delay. Laddie, take the cow down for to earn your pay. The master sang his song. Laddie, do no wrong today. On your way. The laddie spied a maiden strolling on the way. The laddie spied a maiden, this she had to say.
Where you going, laddie, on this market day? Where you going, laddie, on this fine day?
It's mother's farm and his words. Laddie, take the cow down.
Come into my garden, you handsome laddie boy. Come into my garden, dance the night away. Come into my garden, she did say. Come into my garden, dance with me today.
Enchanted by her charms, he forgot his farm, and there they stayed. Out come the father, stickle as can be. Out come the father, laddie, out with ye. But then he spied the laddie's cow as fat as can be. Marry now, me daughter, give that cow to me. The laddie shook his head and slipped his brogans on and fled with no more cow to lead. So listen to your master when he sings a song. Listen to your master and you'll do no wrong. Listen to your master, you Roman old mokey. To your master, must you be. Laddie took a goose down, a reaping laddie boy. Laddie took a goose down on the market day.
Awesome. So that was Laddies by O'hAnleigh. Thank you all so much for coming on tonight. We enjoyed it immensely.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
so much for having us.
Fun. And this has been Rocket Shop on 105.9 FM, The Radiator, WOMMLP Burlington. We've been your hosts, Molly Allen.
And Genevieve Rossi.
Tune in next week to listen in on our guest Samba Tucata and Montana Verde. Samba Tucata and Montana Verde. Good night.